Education is a powerful profession. It has the ability to impact the future of an individual learner or an entire population. It involves more than just English, science, and math. Educators are responsible for navigating emotions, relationships, and our individuality. Across the different levels of education, we learn so much from fine and gross motor skills and sharing to calculus, project management, and string theory. Throughout time, education has taught us how to speak, cook, defend. The possibilities of this field are endless. We've learned everything that we currently know from observing or listening to someone else. We have also taught someone else whether we realize it or not. Some may think that educators consist of just teachers. However, education exists because of the interconnectivity of entire communities. It thrives because teachers, parents, students, and so many others work together to maintain the educational community as we know it. Before anyone can be an educator, they are first a learner. This includes myself. As a learner, I appreciate visuals, auditory aids, and modeling. Lectures can be beneficial, but they aren't the best way for me to understand new material. I thrive best with hands-on experience and real-world application. Although this may be what works best for me, this doesn't mean that these methods are ideal for everyone. My job as an educator is to be mindful of my learners' strengths and weaknesses. I must aim to accommodate each one of my learners so that they are able to learn in the way that suits them best. I am used to having younger learners who I can introduce myself and learning through play. There are usually a few components that are always involved: an auditory part, such as a song, a visual part, like a picture, and emotion, like sign language or dance. In addition to being told about the new topic, each student has an opportunity to experience the lesson in multiple ways in hopes that at least one way sticks with them. We sometimes forget that education is a conversation between educators and learners. It is a great idea to allow students to contribute to their learning environment. This gives them a sense of autonomy, but also strengthens their desire to participate, especially when it is something they helped to create. This belief drives my teaching style. I have a blended style of teaching, and this is because my learners and their needs are diverse. Therefore, my approach to education should be as well. To remain rigid in my teaching methods would be a disservice to any student whose needs differ from my approach. I must allow myself to be flexible enough to reach each student and their needs. There is no single box that fits every person. I must remember that every time that I step foot into a classroom or work in the field, I must honor the differences that make my learners who they are. In addition to respecting my students as individuals, it is important that I also maintain a current and working knowledge of current trends and practices. By knowing my students, I can be an effective educator. By knowing my craft, I can ensure that my impact is positive, powerful, and persistent. My education philosophy was not created overnight. It took years of experience as a student and as an educator to develop. If I'm being completely honest, my philosophy is still a work in progress. I am still fairly new to being an educator, and I imagine that my future experiences will continue to shape how I approach my career. I will undoubtedly continue to find new reasons behind the importance of education. King Jensen 2020 expands on my point about education being powerful. Her editorial points out the immense impact education can have on individuals, which in turn impacts society. I have seen former classmates use education to spark their interest and dive into them, honing those skills until they are ready to improve the modern world. I have seen them become doctors, lawyers, and journalists. My interactions with former classmates, colleagues, students, and parents have provided me with a strong foundation for why I am in this field. I want to inspire others and help future generations the way my teachers did for me. Patel 2021 calls out our educational system for falling into the habit of standardization and assimilation rather than expanding on our views through the exposure to others and new ideas. This is a change that I have noticed by being a student as well as by growing up with teachers. I have heard current educators complain of the constant goal of assimilation and standardization taking over the classroom. If I wish to help improve education's current situation, then I must continue to develop my skills. I may have to adjust how I learn in order to keep up with current educational practices. I might even have to adapt to new resources and methods stemming from technological advancements. However, if I wish to make the impact that I dream of and assist education with getting out of its current process, then I have to keep improving myself as an educator. My future career will constantly challenge me and how I approach my learners. Each generation brings a new set of learners who have been shaped by different experiences. The political climate, language barriers, and physical and mental capabilities all have the ability to influence my approach. One year, my students may have different needs than a previous group. I have to be willing and able to recognize these shifts and adapt where needed. Johnson, 2002, discusses how learners are complex and variable and that teaching should match that. Johnson's ideals are very in line with my current line of thinking. My current teaching style is based on the research I was exposed to during my master's program and personal experiences. Future research may suggest that I alter my approach or redefine my practices as something different. The future may hold experiences that force me to pivot and adjust my approach. I could have a class that requires more direction than I am used to. I could have a class that has very specific needs. This is just a reality that I have to accept. My current philosophy is more geared towards the younger learners that I have had the pleasure of teaching. Any opportunities I get to work with older learners would allow me to revisit how I approach learners and my teaching style. I will welcome this introspection because it will allow me to improve as an educational leader. Creating my philosophy involved reflecting on who I am and how I got here. Like my approach to education, my philosophy can't remain rigid. It must evolve as I do and stay current with the given times. As I mature in this field, I look forward to revamping my philosophy so that it better describes the educator that future me will be.